studio. Smooth 98.1 here. We are 15 minutes gone past 5 o'clock, and it is the marketplace on the Smooth Drive. I'm Shopper Martins.
And my name is Ayo.
And we've got Rotus in with us. Hi, Rotus. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I'm not sure if it's 6:30 a.m. in the morning or
I know.
It feels weird, right?
in the afternoon.
It's a different flavor. All right, so people, make sure you join the conversation. We are going to be talking about something very interesting as we go into 2023. We are in 2023, I forgot.
We're live.
As we go into the elections for 2023, we're going to be looking at the outgoing administration and the president, our current president of Nigeria, and how his tenure has been for our economy.
That's right. We're reviewing his tenure on the economy today. And of course, Rotus, I'm pretty sure that you have a number of things to probably get off your chest, concerning what the president has said and, the achievements he says that, the administration has actually, put in place and so on and so forth.
Indeed. Yeah. There's a whole lot that we have to review. You just have to ask yourself if, because I think he said he's tried his best and they met their campaign promises. So I guess one can just looking back and then looking back on the administration, looking forward to what is ahead for the rest of us across a number of talking points. You can ask yourself if we're better off now than we were, at least in economic terms, 8 years ago, 7.5 years ago or so. So yeah, lots to get into.
Yeah. So join the conversation on whichever platform you like. We are up on Twitter at Smooth981FM. You can use the hashtag Marketplace981. You can also go up on YouTube because we're streaming live, youtube.com/Smooth981FM Lagos. Find the marketplace as the live stream goes on and join the conversation using the chat function. And of course, WhatsApp 0809 440 981. So, Rotus, the experts, the analysts, as Mr. President says, I've tried my best, maybe even better than his best, because I remember something like that going around. What would we say about that?
Well, I mean, you can't fault somebody for trying. I guess the issue is whether or not the efforts yielded the required results. Yeah. So we all of us have other people who we've asked to do stuff for us. Maybe we've paid them to do it, we've hired them to do something, and we saw them give the best effort that they could. Now, whether or not they had the ability to be able to deliver on what we asked them, I guess is the difference between whether or not, we are satisfied with what they did. So can we say he tried? I guess he did, the issue is,
it feels very grudging on your behalf.
Yeah, I don't, he's on his way out. I don't want to turn this into a bashing session for the president. I guess, if I ask the two of you, if you know people who have been looking for work since they left NYSC, whether or not they found work every year, Shola, Shokpe, and Ayo, I'm sure you get a number of people who are asking to, hand you their resumes so that they can join Smooth FM.
Somebody spoke to me this morning. Literally this morning.
So, and have you been able to provide those people jobs every single time? When they reach out and say, hey, Shokpe, I'm looking for a job, you're like, oh, Shokpe, great, here's a job. And in less than a week, they have a job. Is that what the story has been for Nigeria? So if we just talk jobs, or we talk fuel supply, or we talk electricity supply, or, whatever, pick your economic topic.
Fuel supply is actually a good place to start.
Okay, well,
that's a very good place to start because that's
NNPC said they would. In fact, there's a very interesting update from the NMDPR, and we'll get to that in a moment. But fuel supply, I saw the fuel station selling at 170, and there were no lines. Is that because people are on holiday? And there are less people out today, it's a public holiday. Will those lines increase tomorrow? Either way, you are the president of the largest oil producer on the African continent. Should we be going through this? We're still going through this at the end of his tenure. So did he try to improve fuel supply? That's
So
one thing to ask
I
yourself.
was in a really interesting conversation with someone in the finance sector, and he talked about the opening up of the economy with a new administration. His opinion was that, oh, well, we already know who the new administration is, and investors already know who the new administration the new president is going to be. I was like, I don't know anything. It's up to the people to vote. I don't know. But what he said, and he made a comparison between the current administration and whoever the incoming administration would be. And he talked about looking at investors being excited about what comes next because, well, he didn't use the word excited. Rotus, I see your facial expression. But he talked about investors watching and waiting and getting ready to plunge back in. And he made the analogy about, a caretaker government versus a government of investment. So he talked about, okay, on one hand, we had someone said, we don't want any sorts of corruption, no stealing, no nothing, but we're also just, this is the money we have. Let's say $50 billion. We're just going to hold on to this $50 billion. We're not going to make any investments. We're not going to make any infrastructural development. We're not going to do that much. We'll just hold on to it. Somehow the money trickles through your fingers still, versus another administration that might be like, okay, well, we're going to blow up the economy, but we're also going to take our money while we're doing it. And so that was the comparison he made.
Well.
And he asked me, what would you prefer?
What would you prefer? Well, look, I don't want the economy blown up. But
in a good way. In a good way.
In a good way.
Like we will blow it up. We will massively increase the investments coming in. There's going to be dollars just raining down. Everything's going to be amazing. But we're also going to take our cuts, and you can't say anything. So if we tell you we're going to build 50 schools, we'll build 5 schools and pocket the money for 45 schools, but at least you'll have 5 good working schools.
Out of
that kind of thing.
I don't like those options though. I'm not.
I also said I did not like those options, but it's an example. That's
of course. Of course. No, I mean, look, but that example touches on something that is very vital. We need foreign direct investment so bad. And that's another thing. Did the president try to really give us an enabling business environment that invited foreign investors into Nigeria? As we speak, they have the ones that I hear can't even get their money out, from the aviation folks to the guys, foreign portfolio investors and the stock market. They couldn't get the dollars to repatriate their money. So if you come here, you do business, you make your money, now you've got to convert it back to dollars and then take it back to your home country. They couldn't. So, that's another, I don't know if you give it a question mark or so, we need that money really badly. And so for the next administration, I just hope that they are looking at how to hit the ground running in fact, I already hope that they are talking to, foreign investors already to say, look, this is what's going to happen when we come in. So that's another measure. That's another thing to look at, because if your capital projects are not multiplying, where you're seeing bridges being built and new buildings and so on and so forth, left and right, then you're stagnant, right? And so unfortunately, that has been one of the results. That's been one of the outcomes, unfortunately, where foreign direct, and Nigeria is not even the biggest recipient of foreign direct investment on the continent. Egypt has taken that. South Africa has taken that. I mean,
Rotus, come on, Egypt has friends in high places. Come on.
Yes, they do. They're friends with deep pockets in the Middle East.
Can we say golf? Can we say golf? They've got
exactly.
Great friends.
Yeah, but if that's a good point, Shokwe. But then you should be able to attract money from the United States, from Europe, from Asia, from all these other continents. And for you to be able to do that, your investment environment just has to be attractive. And so, can you make it attractive when you don't have lights? Can you make it attractive when you've got insecurity issues? These are the things that were promised with respect to addressing if I go back to the jobs thing, there was a promise of I don't know why everybody loves this 3 million figure, but there was a promise of 3 million jobs per year. That never happened. So you bring that back to foreign direct investments and the promise of making the environment attractive, that didn't really happen either. So I don't know.
But shouldn't that be like the number one thing to do? Because like you said, we need a lot of foreign investment and so on and so forth. But if the environment is not friendly, it's not accommodating, that's not going to happen. So shouldn't that be the first thing to to tackle, to deal with?
Right. But okay. You know what? Speaking of the first thing to tackle, do you guys remember how long it took for a cabinet to be announced? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Who can forget?
And then the resurrection of Baba goes slow. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, you cannot, when you need to have a full team of people putting out so many fires, you can't take, I don't know if it was 6 months or so, to name a cabinet. That's just, and I really hope that whoever comes into office next, it just already has their cabinet in mind and starts naming people immediately, because you just can't afford to waste that kind of time. So that's again another measure. So maybe maybe say he was trying to find the right people, and that's what took time. I don't know, but it didn't work out very well for us.
But I have to say, I feel like this year, 2022 in particular, was a pretty rough one for us as a country. But what can we do? Let's talk about external factors that also affected the workings of our economy. Because I think, and you can correct me, but I believe that our economy does not have any sort of shock absorbers for what happens on the external front. And so when we had the war in Ukraine, Russia's invasion of Ukraine, that affected us quite a bit, didn't it?
It did, pretty bad. But you see, that Russia invasion of Ukraine, which was February of last year, it drove up
February 20th, I think. Yeah.
It drove up oil prices, right? And you mentioned the Gulf nations. One of the reasons why Qatar was able to fund their $200 billion World Cup was
with
oil prices.
pyrotechnics.
And Saudi Arabia have its budget surplus. Oman, all these other Gulf nations, they all profited from higher oil prices. Nigeria is, I think, the only major oil producer. And maybe outside of Iran is facing sanctions. Maybe Venezuela, those other guys, they're oil producers, but they have their own issues. But we're in that club where we did not benefit from oil prices right now. If you tell me COVID back in 2020, that depressed oil prices, there were lockdowns and things were terrible. Everybody was affected. So that one affected everybody. Then even when unfortunately, Buhari has just had the unfortunate distinction of having a hat trick of recessions every time he's been president, from the 80s to when he came in 2015. Now when oil prices crashed and he was in trouble, and so there was a recession. Then COVID came, oil prices crashed again, another recession. So yeah, to your point, the external shocks have impacted us. But then you're supposed to build buffers in order to shield you from those stocks. And fuel subsidies, if you look at, I think we spent about 6 trillion or so on subsidies. We're on tap to spend another 10 trillion. If you take that money and you put it to shield you against shocks, maybe you have something in the can there to defend yourself. But when you are just so adamant that fuel prices will not be sold above a certain cap because you want to help the poor, you're shooting yourself in the foot when that money can come to your aid. When you've got oil prices dropping precipitously, and you don't have to what we're just talking about, foreign direct investment coming in to help you as well. So you're just shutting off all the taps left and right, where you're spending too much and so on and so forth. So we just got ourselves into a bit of a pickle, and it's to the point where, look at Financial Derivatives Company Limited saying that we could be heading to the IMF for help if we're not careful. So
wow, Rotus, you know what? What a cliffhanger to leave a conversation on. We've got to take a quick break, but anticipate that conversational turn on the other side of that. Stick with us. It's the Marketplace on the Smooth Drive.
Love life.
Okay, so we'll talk about our debt burden after.
All right.
And we'll keep going with the rest of Mr. President's tenure.
He has done his best.
We have a minute.
He did the best he could. The best he could.
Three recessions.
You have to start asking, is it the economy or is it the person?
I think it's the person. Village peoples. That's the village people call it. I don't get it. It's ridiculous.
Mm.
And how can us come out and say that, we've met all our campaign promises?
I don't think anybody can meet all their campaign policies, but
you can try.
but you can try and you can be seen to be trying as well.
Everybody made money from oil. We did not.
Okay, we are back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and we're back from the cliff that we were hanging on. So,
We're still hanging on, actually.
Our death burden. Are we going to go into free fall?
Oh my gosh, I hope not. I hope not. That would be scary. That would be real scary. FDC, run by renowned economist Bismarck Rawane, in their update, the most recent economic update that they put out, was saying that if Nigeria isn't careful, we might join Ghana, Tunisia, Kenya, and all those other countries, from even Egypt that we mentioned a moment ago, from going cap in hand to the IMF to see.
I'd rather not have a conversation with the IMF, Rotus. But people, what do you think about this? Send your WhatsApp messages into 0809 440 981. So in this report, did it kind of give us a time frame for how quickly we might go having a conversation with the IMF?
I think they are looking. So if fuel subsidies, if we go from 6 trillion to 10 trillion this year will hinge. I mean, we'll see what happens. But if you're almost doubling your fuel subsidy costs, while your revenues are down, you're still not earning money from oil prices because oil theft, your infrastructure is old. Then, I mean, you're like this year, I think January through September, we've already spent about 3 trillion naira in debt servicing. Think about that. That is almost as much as personnel costs, capital expenditure, and so on. So, and your revenue, I think it was 4 trillion last year. Was it 5? I mean, your debt servicing is, almost reaching your revenue. So at that point, if you don't have enough money to pay bills, then you now have to borrow. But I mean, they didn't really give a time frame. And this year is pivotal, but they're saying that if you continue down the trajectory that we're on right now, then at some point you can't even borrow money. Like if you look around at what's happening on the international markets, the Federal Reserve in the US, the Bank of England in England, the ECB, the European Central Bank, all of them are raising rates. So as rates are going up, international capital markets is getting more expensive to go and get loans like Euro bonds and stuff. So if your debt servicing is already reaching 3 trillion, you can't go and borrow more money because it's going to be more expensive. So where do you go? So when you get that desperate, as happened to Ghana and Egypt and so on, you now have to turn to the IMF as a last resort, and they will, before they give you that money, you have to do something.
Rotus, speaking of getting desperate and going cap in hand, as you said, to the IMF, just speaking hypothetically, if that were to happen, what does that actually mean for the nation as a whole going forward?
Yeah. So what it means is that you don't have enough. And think of a personal situation where any individual just doesn't have any money and has to go and borrow from a colleague at work or a relative or a friend or something. So what happens going forward for that person? That person now has to live a very stringent, tight life where they cannot spend they cannot spend it as freely as they could. So your capital projects are gone, right? You're just borrowing money just to be able to stay alive, like in Sri Lanka, for instance. Go ahead, Shobha.
So, okay, in this analogy, the friends, though, and tell me if this is right. doesn't the friend come into your house and say, okay, so you can't be running your generator like this?
Yeah, exactly.
See how you are buying all these soft drinks before. You have to change from the high-end one to a lower-end one.
Or none at all.
In fact, why aren't you sweeping your floor 20 times a day?
Right.
This can help you improve your financial life. Isn't
exactly. That's exactly how it works. So they would impose, you have to, dance to their tune, because they will impose all these restrictions on you. People will find it very tough. I think, remember SAP, or what was it back in the 80s with
structural
adjustment program,
Yeah, so that would get really ugly, and that's why I'm so worried for the next administration coming in, because they are coming in to look debt. I should point this out. Our debt right now, according to the Debt Management Office, is 44 trillion naira, right? That 44 trillion, I think at official exchange rates, comes out to about $100 billion. It does not include the Central Bank of Nigeria's ways and means, which is a line of credit that the central bank has been giving, basically printing money to give to the federal government to, I guess, pay salaries, right? It has reached about 22 or 23 trillion naira. If you add that to the
22 last time I checked.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like 66, 67 trillion already. In fact, that 22 trillion budget that Buhari, I understand, is going to sign the budget tomorrow for 2023. That budget is 21 trillion. So the money that this government borrowed from the CBN is more than the budget, right? Which tells you
that is bonkers.
Yeah, it's crazy. Which tells you that our budget isn't even enough to meet. Even the 21 trillion, they don't. The deficit is, I think, about 8 trillion. So you don't even have enough money to even meet the budget that you're putting forward. And then that budget now is smaller than the money you borrowed. So you can just see the hole is just deep. It's just deep. And
so the budget is 21.8 trillion naira, where expected revenue for the year is supposed to be 9.73 trillion.
Exactly.
That's a lot of deficit to cover.
Big deficit. And even the 9 trillion, what was your oil revenues last year? It was like 5 or something. So, and then debt servicing is 3 trillion after that 5. So, you're just digging and digging and digging. So for the new person coming in, it's just, yeah.
Rotus, in fact, going into the new person coming in, whichever administration it's going to be, and whoever is going to be at the head of it, I think we've seen from the major candidates that they're all kind of singing the same tune about what they have planned for Nigeria's economy, which is, grow it, make sure we get more investments, foreign direct investments, all of that. But then it comes down to priorities. How do you go about it? What needs to be first on their agenda?
Yeah, I think it's revenue. So we just need money. We need dollars to come in. I think one of the first, they probably have to prioritize oil thefts and try and ramp up Nigeria's oil production back to the 2 million barrel per day levels. Because at least if you can do that, then you're selling more oil and you're bringing in more. And that one at least can give you some small breathing room. But there's just so much smuggling going on and so much stealing. And it's been said that even people inside governments are part of it. Maybe used to fund elections. I don't know. It's all rumors and innuendos and all that. But
on that level, come on.
It's crazy. But I mean, you can't steal oil in a boat that is the size of without anybody noticing. It's crazy. How does it sneak out?
That's not possible.
Yeah, it's really strange, So
in those countries,
that's the first thing they have to do. And then I think insecurity too. If you can tamp down on insecurity, make the environment safer. That's a quick win, hopefully, that they can prioritize. And then, of course, there's still the big looming issue of our debt and then power, lights. I'm surprised I still have lights. And, surprised the light hasn't gone out since
Christmas lights.
Christmas lights. One thing I'm going to say is that the rest of the world has joined us on this light issue. It's not just us anymore. I was watching Sky News and one of the analysts had his power go out.
What?
Yes.
No way.
So I was like, welcome to Nigeria. It was fun.
We've been here for quite a while.
So,
oh my gosh.
People are joining us now, so
they're all joining us. They are. We've been used to this. But yeah, it's just, it's there's just so many things to attend to, and you wish the next leader the best of luck, because my goodness, size of government, unemployment. We haven't even looked at unemployment, the jobs picture. It's overwhelming when you think about it. It really is. And I don't know how much they can accomplish in the first 4 years. Maybe they can try and hit some quick wins that can buy them some time. But fixing Nigeria is an 8-year plus project, if you think about it.
This is the thing, Rotus, and it's a natural law where destruction is much easier and much quicker than building. And so it goes to a question that I feel needs to be asked, which is, are we going to be able to give them that time? So with Peru, the drama that happened with Peru, right?
Yeah.
Where the president got ousted very dramatically. And so the interim president, Boluarte, said that she asked the country for patience because there was a lot that needed to go on. And in changing the country, she needed patience from the people. Do you think that's something that the new administration is going to have to ask for? Because I feel as though a lot of people, all eyes are on 2023. And yes, change is something that is going to happen anyway. However, after the change, then what? Have people thought about what comes after? And the fact that if we're going to get to a better place, we're going to have to go through some tough terrain.
And here's the thing, Shokwe, the way it's looking, it looks like the country is divided, right? You go on social media, you see one candidate's supporters attacking the other. Whoever wins probably will not satisfy the nation. There will be some people who will be angry. They might call cheating, blah, blah, blah. So you are going in now with a divided country, a divided electorate. The people who feel aggrieved and whose candidates who have lost will now start attacking that administration and not giving them enough time to do what they need to do. So we need a unifier. Whoever comes in has to have a message of unity to bring everybody together on a message of optimism and hope and so on and so forth. And maybe they buy some time that way. Another way is to hit the ground running, make some quick decisions that show that you're a serious person, right? And then that maybe buys you some time as well. So there really is an utmost urge to move quickly. They got to move fast. The moment results are in and the handover happens, they have to move quickly.
All right, we have a reaction on WhatsApp here. This message is from Gilbert, and he says, "Good evening, all. I'm Gilbert Musa from Festac. On the possible talk with the IMF, let's ask ourselves, how did we get to this present economic decline since June 1986, when then President Babangida introduced the Structural Adjustment Program, which he spoke about, the SAP, as an alternative to IMF loans? Why did we wait as a country to be in a tight corner? Did we not learn the lesson in 1986?
Great question. Great question. And that's, it almost seems like Nigeria continues to, what's that saying about if you something with history, you repeat it or something like that?
Those who don't study history or fail to recognize history are doomed to repeat it.
Thank you. That's it. That's exactly right. So that seems to be Nigeria's situation. So we really have to make sure that we get it right. PVCs are out there to be collected. Everybody's got to go let their voice be heard. And pivotal year, we got to hope for the best.
2023, it's like Rosa said, pivotal year, and depending on you, depending on me, depending on all of us, it's either a pivot to the good or a pivot to the worst.
Exactly.
Let's make the right choice, people.
Speaking of,
we have to
make a decision. February 25th is just around the corner, really.
Next month.
February 2nd. It is next month.
It's next month.
Yeah.
It's here, more or less.
Just like that.
Yes. Vote wisely, people. All right, we've come to the end of the show, Rotus. So it's been an interesting conversation, and you can always go catch the conversation once more. It is going to be up on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Go catch the replay. Rotus, will see you once more on the Smooth Drive for the other things like personal finance and so on and so forth.
Indeed. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow.
Have a wonderful evening. And that's that for the marketplace. Coming up, we've got great music and so much more.